Chapter 4. Meet Again. They followed the path of light to the gates of the massive angular castle. Nobodies and Heartless promptly circled them in droves. "We've just got to get through this!" Sora's keyblade descended. "Huh? Where's the king?" Donald glanced around the vicinity, but found no trace of him. "Gosh, he must have run ahead again," said Goofy, not a bit worried about their king. "We should be running too," said Sora, and so they did. By now, they had taken down a good deal of enemies. The ones they found here were a decent warm-up, but not too difficult to handle. But that revelation about the Heartless still troubled Sora. Was it really okay to destroy any more of them? If they didn't take down what sought to harm them, they would be destroyed themselves. He understood that, and yet doubt still nagged at him. What if their efforts were actually contributing to the destruction of the worlds? Still, if they didn't fight the Heartless, those same Heartless would destroy the worlds. Filled with uncertainty, Sora clenched his fist around the Keyblade. "You're doing well, Sora," someone remarked. From the passageways winding around outside the castle, they'd arrived in a soaring great hall, and the voice had come from above them. There was a high mezzanine around the edges of the room with an elaborate platform that might have been a stage. "Where's Kairi?" Sora shouted toward the voice. Sykes looked down at them from the stage. "Kairi? Oh, I expect she's catching up with her friend from the darkness," he said as if it were nothing of much concern. "What's that mean?" Sora demanded. "She doesn't need you anymore." Sykes smiled, but the expression didn't reach his eyes. That was the world's most obvious lie, Sora thought. He'd had about enough of these organization guys trying to tell him what was what. "Like I'm supposed to believe that?" Sora shot back. "Well, that's up to you, but you can believe this. Organization 13 has no more use for you." Sykes lifted his hand to point at the strange moon hanging in the sky above the glass ceiling. "Just look there, our Kingdom Hearts. Thanks to you, we've collected countless hearts. Can you hear their euphoria? And now, all they need is one more helping hand from the Keyblade wielder." He snapped his fingers. Darkness seeped into the walls around them, and Heartless poured out. "We gotta fight!" Donald called with his wand ready. "But Kingdom Hearts will..." Sora averted his eyes. If they kept destroying Heartless, those hearts only fed Kingdom Hearts. They would just be helping the organization, and he didn't want to simply go along with their plans. But then... "Sora!" someone called out. He knew that voice. His head snapped up at the sound, and there on the mezzanine opposite from Sykes, leaning out from the balcony, was Kairi. "Sora, it's really you!" "Kairi!" he shouted back, and the Heartless swarmed over him, hiding him from view. "You get away from him!" Kairi shouted, and she took a running leap down from the balcony. Heartless mobbed her too, closing in on her in a swarm. "Sora..." Her voice was too quiet, but a flash of light came to her aid. "Huh?" It was Xehanort Riku, taking her arm to pull her to her feet. Driven back, the Heartless faded away. Riku offered her a sword. No, a Keyblade. "Take it." "Yeah, this time, I'll fight." She closed her fingers around the glowing weapon. It called to her, to the strength in her heart, and it too wanted her to join the fray. "Come on, you know Sora's hopeless without us. Let's go, Riku." She dashed again into the swarm of Heartless, and Riku was right behind her. Sykes watched them from above, Sora joined by Kairi and Riku. Meanwhile, 2 more teams of intruders had invaded the stronghold. "Well, well, Pete, this is a splendid castle. Perhaps we should acquire it." Maleficent took in the surroundings, looking quite charmed. Pete stood beside her on the balcony opposite from Sykes. "I guess the setup is kinda nice, but what about all the Heartless?" said Pete, a bit unnerved. "This funny in-between world's too close to the darkness. They ain't gonna listen to us here." "Oh, but you underestimate me." Maleficent smiled as if victory were already in her grasp as she gazed upon the castle's architecture. Somewhere higher up in the castle was the other pair, or rather, another man who had collapsed beneath the throng of enemies. But then the king arrived to scatter the heartless and slash through the nobodies. Beside him, a mysterious unwieldy device had tumbled to the floor. Diz tried to stand, but lurched to his knees again as if badly hurt, his red cape fluttering. "Hold on!" With the king's help, he got to his feet and focused on Kingdom Hearts in the sky. He unwrapped the strips of red cloth that hid his face, and the face he revealed was that of Ansem the Wise. "It's been too long, my friend." King Mickey regarded him sternly. "Ansem the Wise, why didn't you come to me before things got so bad?" Ansem regarded the great moon of Kingdom Hearts again as he replied, "Zemnis, the organization's leader, is the nobody of Xehanort, my foremost apprentice. The burden was mine to bear." "Is that all?" King Mickey pressed. Avoiding his gaze, Ansem turned away. "I won't deny there was more. I was obsessed with thoughts of revenge. My apprentices stole everything from me, my research, my pride." His voice was heavy with regret. "I can't help you with revenge," the king said at Ansem's back. "I know. Riku told me the same 1,000 times." Hearing his friend's name, King Mickey had to interrogate further. "Where is Riku?" "He must be with his friends by now. He was a great help to me." Finally, Ansem turned back to look his friend in the eye. "I found him wandering after you, and we lost track of each other, but—" "No, we didn't lose each other exactly," King Mickey cut in. "Riku just left on his own. Xehanort's Heartless was still inside his heart, and it must have been hurting him a lot. But what I don't understand is why he looks the way he does now when in his heart he's still Riku." Ansem took a slow, deep breath before telling King Mickey the whole story. "I am to blame. When I first met Riku, he still had his own form, a boy's form, likely because he had such a strong heart. I asked him to find a young man named Roxas from Organization 13 and bring him to me. When I told him it would help awaken Sora from his slumber, Riku left without another word. He fought Roxas, and I can only surmise he lost that fight. Riku must have realized it then. To fight in a world of darkness, he would have to immerse himself in darkness. And when he did, well, the results were as you saw. When Riku brought Roxas back to me, he gave his own name as Ansem. If that was what it took to save his friend, he was willing to become a denizen of the darkness. Riku was a victim of my revenge." After that long speech, Ansem paused as though he'd run out of words. King Mickey stepped closer to him. "Ah, how my heart ached." Despite Ansem's words, his expression was calm now as he looked down at the king. "I could only laugh to hide my shame." "It must have been after that when I saw Riku again," said the king. "And he made me promise him. He told me he wanted to help Sora, but he made me promise never to let Sora find out what happened to him." Ansem closed his eyes for a moment, his face ruefully turned down, and then spoke again. "My friend, the time has come. I must make amends to these young people for the suffering I've caused." He hoisted up the device that sat by his feet, then continued on his way through the castle. King Mickey followed his lead. He could hear Kairi's voice, and Donald's. "Sora, hold on!" "Ugh, get off!" Sora shoved away the Heartless clambering on him and got to his feet. Up on the balcony, opposite from the platform Sykes had just occupied, he could see Kairi and Xehanort fighting more Heartless. "What's going on?" Kairi held a weapon. It looked like a keyblade, and the man in black beside her was Ansem. "No," Sora corrected himself. "That's Xehanort." Why were those two fighting together? As Sora hesitated, something like knives of light, a whole volley of them, tore through the Heartless around him. "Who's there?" He whipped his body around, and low, scornful laughter echoed through the hall. "Have you been a good boy?" said a mocking voice. "Show yourself!" Sora demanded. There, on the elaborate stage, an organization man stepped out of the darkness. His black hair was streaked with white, and an eye patch covered his right eye. His features were sharp and cold. Oh, it sounds like you haven't, Sora. Or actually, Roxas. Roxas? Startled, Sora turned back to his friends. Did that guy just call me Roxas? Donald gave him an emphatic nod. You really got Organization 13 up against the wall here, said Xigbar. Well, I guess that must be why the Keyblade chose you. But man, did it ever pick a dud this time. You're not half the hero the others were. Are you done rambling? Sora retorted. Me, ramble? Well, maybe I am. The point is, your time is up, traitor. Xigbar leaped down from the stage, landing not far from Sora. Look out, Sora! Goofy called. Xigbar loomed over Sora, bringing his face uncomfortably close. What's your problem? Sora jumped back, readying the Keyblade. Those blue eyes. They just give me such a thrill. What are you talking about? In each hand, Xigbar gripped something like a blade with myriad small knives attached. The arrow guns. Let's dance, kiddo. The blades on the arrow guns glowed and shot at Sora. Whoa! Sora knocked them aside with the Keyblade as he charged at Xigbar. Take this! Donald let his magic fly, and the knives of light disintegrated. Sora, keep steady! Called Goofy as his shield blocked the knives. But as the fight went on, another figure watched from above. Looks like they're in a tough spot. King Mickey looked down on the fierce battle as he and Ansem had followed the path to a higher level of the Great Hall. Maybe we should help. Ansem glanced back at him. Sora and Riku are together now. We have no part to play here. Gee, I wonder if Riku will ever change back. The king murmured, hurrying to catch up with Ansem. Riku chose that form so that he could use the power of darkness. Ansem's brow drew together in concern, or perhaps guilt. Getting rid of it won't be easy. King Mickey shook his head sadly and followed Ansem. You know, I don't have time for you, Sora complained as he leaped at Xigbar. I'm gonna find Kairi! He swung the Keyblade ferociously at one of the arrow guns flying from Xigbar's hand. Xigbar chuckled, deflecting a blow to his body and jumped back. Well, you are the Keyblade wielder after all, he said under his breath and brushed at his mouth. Guess I shouldn't underestimate you, even if you are a dud, Roxas. He aimed his remaining arrow gun. I'm Sora! Before Xigbar could fire the knives, Sora dashed in with all his might and knocked the other weapon from the man's grasp. And then a spell from Donald exploded in Xigbar's face. Sora! Goofy called, charging with his shield raised to smash Xigbar's jaw. Xigbar sailed through the air. Sora ran to where he sprawled on the floor and brought down the Keyblade. Why are you calling me Roxas? He demanded. Wouldn't you like to know? Xigbar's body dissipated into a black mist. Sora looked down at the faint dark blotches he left behind. All these guys calling me Roxas. I'm really getting sick of this. It doesn't make any sense. Sora! Donald called. It's Kairi! Forgetting about all of that, Sora turned the other way. Kairi! We're coming! And he ran to her. Innumerable small hearts floated into the sky to be absorbed into Kingdom Hearts. Bathed in the glow, Xemnas pushed back his hood and took in the sight. Yes, Kingdom Hearts, rejoice and feast on all we offer. Shine your pale light on this empty realm and share your power with us, the nobodies. Cyax appeared behind him. Xemnas, is Kingdom Hearts ready? Xemnas faced him with narrowed eyes. Very soon. At that, something relaxed in Cyax's expression. So I can end this? As you will. Xemnas turned his back on Cyax, raising his eyes to Kingdom Hearts once more. How I've longed to hear that. Cyax vanished from the scene. They defeated more and more Heartless, but wave upon wave replaced them, gushing endlessly out from the dark. Swinging her Keyblade, Kairi slashed through them until the last one remaining in front of her had dissolved into nothing. Wow, nice work, Kairi! At the praise from Donald, she paused, then slowly faced them with a smile spreading on her face. Sora, Donald, and Goofy were staring at her in undisguised awe. Kairi, it's good to see you! Sora grinned back. At the sight of his joyful expression, Riku's eyes narrowed as he smiled too. You and Riku never came home, so I went looking for you, said Kairi. Sora and Kairi stepped closer to each other in tandem. I'm sorry, he murmured. Riku still wasn't back. Just as he averted his eyes, Kairi launched herself at him. You're not a dream. Her arms wrapped tight around him. Sora stalled in confusion for the briefest moment before his own arms returned the hug. Looking on, Donald and Goofy couldn't help but grin. But there was one more person, Riku, who turned away and started walking off. He couldn't linger with them anymore. He didn't want Sora to see him like this and realize it was him. Wait! Ansem! Letting go of Kairi, Sora called after the man in black. I mean, Xehanort's heartless. I never thought for a second we'd ever see you again. Just thinking about all the things you did make me so angry. Riku's steps came to a halt. But you saved Kairi, didn't you? Sora went on. I have to be grateful for that. So, thanks. Instead of looking back, Riku resumed his steps with his head lowered. Kairi ran up behind him and flung her arms around him. Riku, don't go! Sora froze. Kairi, what did you say? She tugged the man's arm and said the name again. Riku. I'm no one, a dweller of the darkness. He gently brushed Kairi away and tried again to escape. Sora, come over here, Kairi pleaded. Say something to him. Mystified, Sora approached Riku. Here, you'll understand. Kairi took Sora's hand and joined it with Riku's. Close your eyes. He did as she said, and in the darkness he could feel the warmth of their hands. An image floated up behind his closed eyes. Riku. It was him. Riku. Sora looked up, holding tight to his friend's hand. It's Riku. Riku was here. He knew that it was Riku's hand he clasped. It was bigger than the one he'd held 1,000 times before, but in his heart, Sora felt it. A knot of something he could barely define swelled in his chest. Clinging to that hand, to Riku's hand, Sora fell to his knees. I was looking for you. Tears spilled over and flowed down his cheeks as he pressed Riku's hand against his face. How long had he been searching? How badly had he wanted to see Riku, to talk to him again? And Riku was here. Here at last. I found you, finally. I missed you. I've missed you for so long. They'd been separated on Destiny Island. Then they ended up fighting. And then they'd gone through that door together from opposite sides. And he'd been searching for Riku all the while. Come on, Sora, Riku chided lightly. Keep it together. He looked up, his sight blurred with tears, into the face that wasn't Riku's. It was Ansem's. No, Xehanort's face. But there was no doubt. He felt Riku's presence through their clasped hands. I looked everywhere for you! Riku stared down at Sora, still kneeling, still clutching his hand. I didn't want you to find me. Stung, Sora lowered his eyes again. But it was him helping us all along, wasn't it? Goofy said cheerfully. Baffled, Donald cocked his head. Quack? You know, all those clues we kept finding. The photo and the sea salt ice cream. I bet it was Riku. Goofy watched him for a reaction. The photo, the ice cream, and that probably wasn't all, Sora thought. I felt Riku in the Land of Dragons and in the Beast's castle. I could feel him all along, but I was never sure of it. For so long, I didn't know if he was alive, if I'd get to see him again. I was starting to worry you guys would never catch on, Riku said with a touch of amusement. Even with all my hints, it was still you three after all. What's that supposed to mean? Donald protested. Sora got to his feet and blurted, But why didn't you let me know you were okay? Riku averted his eyes, unable to meet the demanding stare Sora fixed on him. I told you, I didn't want you to see me, not like this. He looked down at his open hands. I fought Ansem's, or Xehanort's darkness when it invaded my heart, and I won. But to use the power of that darkness, I had to become him myself. Does that mean you can't change back? Kairi asked cautiously. This fight isn't over yet, said Riku. Until it is, I still need the power of darkness. Then let's finish it! Sora's voice was full of determination. He flashed a smile at his friend in a different form. You're still Riku, no matter what. It doesn't matter what he looks like. Riku is okay. I'm so glad he's okay, and I found him again. More tears were welling up in his eyes. Trying not to let Riku notice, he turned to Donald and Goofy. So, how about it? Are we ready for one last rumble together? The king's waiting. Yeah, Donald agreed a bit louder than necessary. Let's get going. Thank goodness, Namine murmured weakly, her hand at her chest. It was getting hard to breathe. Her right hand looked hazy. Namine stood high above Sora and the others from where the King Mickey and Ansem the Wise had just been. Sora and Riku had found each other. With those two fighting side by side, there was nothing to be afraid of. I wonder if Roxas really managed to find his way back into Sora. She turned to Pluto beside her, staring up at her with what could only be worry. When a nobody meets their somebody, that nobody will disappear. But not really. They just go back to the place they belong. Axel must have returned somewhere when he disappeared. I hope Roxas is there too. But it was an impossible wish. Pluto whined anxiously at her. It's okay. I'm not afraid. She knelt down and hugged Pluto tight. I think there's still something I have to do. Then Namine walked away.